my success in the Highlands, my first show back in England was a complete flop. I was engaged for a children's party, and when I arrived, I found that the oldest child was 3, while the rest were more or less babes in arms. The mere presence of a strange man in the house frightened most of them, and when I started the show, those that weren't crying already started up. By the time I finished, the room was a bedlam of screaming infants. I just about recovered from this experience when an old lady phoned and asked if I'd do the show at her grandson's birthday party. "Are you sure he's old enough to appreciate it?" I asked her. "Oh, yes, quite old enough," she assured me. "I've been planning this little treat for ages. I'm sure it'll be a big surprise for him." It certainly was, and it was an even bigger one for me when I saw the ages of these children. They were all between 18 and 20, and were lounging about drinking cocktails and smoking. When Granny announced my arrival, there was a look of horror on their faces. "A Punch and Judy show? What do you think we are? A bunch of ruddy kids?" The old lady was crestfallen. "I've always had one," she said. "I'm sure you'll all enjoy it. I used to." "Doesn't little Tony want a Punch and Judy show?" laughed one of the 2 girls. The remark brought forth jeers from some of the guests, but Tony didn't appreciate the joke. "Another crack like that, and someone will get hurt," he shouted. Then he turned to me. "Get that ruddy thing out of here before I smash it to pieces." "I'm sorry," said Granny, when we were safely out of the room. "It's all my fault. Children have altered since I was a girl." She wrote out a check for my fee and handed it to me, saying, "I hope you will accept this with my deepest apologies." When I looked at it, I saw she'd given me £5 more than I'd asked. It was the easiest money I'd ever earned. The next couple of months were very quiet. Every professional artist knows the feeling. The phone doesn't ring, there's no mail, and it seems as if the gods had deserted you. I was just getting desperate when a woman called and asked what my fee was. When I told her 3 guineas, she was taken aback. 3 guineas, she repeated, as if I'd asked her a fortune. That's half as much as I earn in a week. "Madam," I replied, "if you engage me, it'll be the first money I've earned in 2 months. This remark didn't impress her at all. "Well, I'm certainly not going to pay anything like that. I'll get a Punch and Judy man from the streets for a few shillings." At the end of the week, she was back again. She contacted a street performer, and he'd asked her £5. I did her party, and she was very pleased with my performance. She even gave me an extra 10 shillings when I left, and recommended me to many of her friends. It's funny how some people resent paying for a children's entertainer. Even big firms will pay through the nose for caterers to supply sandwiches, cakes, and lemonade for their parties, and then search around for the cheapest entertainer they can find. One man who refused to pay my fee offered me 10 shillings for the use of my puppets and the booth, saying he'd worked the show himself. When I asked if he'd ever done it before, he admitted he hadn't, but said it would be good enough for the kids. That was one party that didn't have a Punch and Judy show. I remember one Punch and Judy show that didn't have a party, at least not the conventional kind. I fitted up the booth in an old lady's drawing room, and I asked her when she expected the children to arrive. "Oh, there's no children. It's Polly's birthday," she said. Polly was a pet parrot, and I had to do a complete show to an audience consisting of the old lady, 2 dogs, a cat, and a tatty-looking bird. All through the show, the old lady gave a running commentary to her pets, describing everything that Punch and his friends were doing. She told me afterwards that Polly had enjoyed the show very much, and made me stand with her before the parrot's cage while we both sang "Happy Birthday to You." The English are renowned animal lovers, and one family who engaged me insisted upon a real dog Toby. Obligingly, I borrowed a friend's terrier, who I was sure would play the part well. What the family hadn't told me was that they kept a dog too. As soon as I sat Toby up on the booth, the other dogs started to growl, and in a few minutes there was a frantic dog fight. The children started screaming that Toby was killing their dog, who was in fact much the bigger and fiercer of the two, Toby got the worst of the fight, and for a minute I thought the big dog was going to eat him. We finally managed to separate them and shut them in different rooms while I finished the show. The family wasn't too pleased, and my friend, seeing the bites and scratches on his dog, refused to lend him to me again. Dog Toby is fairly dispensable, but Mr. Punch isn't. So I was horrified when I arrived at one party to find I'd left him hanging up in my workshop. Fortunately, a friend had taken me in his car, and as I carried on with an impromptu show, he motored 20 miles each way to fetch the missing puppet. I'd almost given up hope of his ever returning when he popped the puppet through the back curtain. It was the first time I'd done an hour-and-a-half show while waiting for Punch to turn up. On another memorable occasion, I remembered all the puppets, but arrived at my destination 2 hours too early. I knew I'd only embarrass the hostess if I appeared so early, so I walked about for a while in an aimless kind of fashion. Before long, I realized that two men, both pushing bicycles, were following me. And to make quite sure, I walked round some more. And every time I looked over my shoulder, there they were. Eventually, they mounted their cycles and rode over to me. They introduced themselves as plainclothes policemen. "What have you got in that case and bundle?" asked one of them. I thought I'd pulled their legs, so I told them the case was full of bodies. But I could see they weren't amused. "Don't be funny," said the other. I assured him I wasn't being funny, and to prove it, I opened the case for them. They both saw then that I'd been speaking the truth. All the Punch and Judy characters lay there, grinning up at them. They couldn't help laughing. "Ah, it's all right," said one. "There have been some robberies in the neighborhood lately, and we saw you looking at one of the houses in a very suspicious manner." I explained why I was trying to kill time. "This is a bit of luck," said the other constable. "We're holding a children's party at the station next week, and the organizer's been looking round for an entertainer. Have you got a card on you?" I gave him one of my business cards, and as they rode away, he called over his shoulder, "We'll see you get the job." I did, much to the amusement of the organizer. I was wondering how to get in touch with the Punch and Judy man, he told me after the show, but I didn't expect one of our constables to go out and arrest one. In those days, one of my regular enemies was fog. We used to have some real OP supers, and more than once I lost my bearings on the way to a party. One night when I was supposed to be performing in a house by the river, the fog was so thick that a couple of times I nearly found myself in the water. Suddenly a telephone box loomed up before me. As I knew I wasn't far from my destination, I phoned the lady of the house to ask if she could send someone to lead me there. She was most annoyed. "I've engaged you to entertain the children," she said. "If you can't get here, we'll have to cancel the engagement. I can't waste my time sending out search parties." She banged down the receiver. And 2 days later, the agent who booked me received a letter from her telling him to remove my name from his books. There's rather an amusing sequel to this story. The same lady saw me performing at another party a year later, and was so impressed that she engaged me to entertain at one of hers. When I arrived, she told me about the awful man who let her down the year before. I smiled, but didn't let on. I don't want to give the impression that most of my employers were unpleasant or unfair, far from it. I've had ladies alter the date of their parties to fit me in, and others have sent to meet me at the station, invited me to meals, put me up for the night, or paid me more than my fee. Though the greatest reward is always the excited laughter of the children. But in spite of all the perks, it's a tough life. The rule being, no play, no pay. As a self-employed person, there are no unemployment benefits available when work runs out. And as a Punch and Judy man can't be in two places at once, he often has to turn down more work than he actually does. Your purse is ruled by your wits. And I soon found myself testing mine. I came to the conclusion that it was high time that Punch and I joined the ranks of the society entertainers. There used to be a type of refined entertainer who only appeared at posh private functions, in West End drawing rooms, or well-to-do wedding receptions. These society entertainers, as they call themselves, might be singers, ventriloquists, humorists, pianists, or conjurers. They looked upon themselves as far superior to the vulgar music hall performer, and above all, they always received good fees. With this in mind, I made a new set of puppets and had them dressed in the best material I could afford. I always bought beautiful velvet curtains and surrounds for the booth. To go with this new look, I had to alter my own appearance. So instead of performing in an ordinary suit, I wore a morning suit for afternoon shows and full evening dress with tails for evening work. Some of the old Punch men that I knew laughed at my big ideas, saying I joined the collar and cuff boys, and that no one could manipulate puppets in a monkey suit. I never let their ridicule discourage me, and my new ideas paid dividends. Society accepted Mr. Punch in his best suit, and all the fashionable drawing rooms and stately homes were open to him. He no longer travelled by tram, train and bus, but had his own car. But his story was the same, and the upper-class children reacted the same as any others to the exploits of the old villain, shouting out in exactly the same places. Loving mothers told me they'd never seen their children so exciting, as they were usually so shy and reserved. Clean faces laughed just as much as dirty ones, and the society Punch didn't really differ much from the Punch of the gutter. But the man behind the scenes distinctly preferred the crackle of notes to the chink of coppers.